What is up, YouTube? I am coming home today from Dortmund Regionals, where I got second place for the first time in my life. It is my first time making the finals of regional championships, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about how I made my first finals, how I got incredibly lucky on the entire run. I'm not going to pretend, and I'm not going to sit here and say I'm like an amazing player or anything that did everything correctly to get where I needed to be. I definitely made mistakes along the road, and I got very, very lucky to have even had a chance in the finals. And I'm very grateful for all the support and everything from this weekend. I'm a little bit tired. I just literally got home about 25 minutes ago. So I just wanted to pour a heartfelt thank you out to everyone who supported me this weekend. It was really awesome. And yeah, if you guys look at this list, it hasn't changed a single card. I've been playing the same 60 card list in Worlds in Baltimore, where I got ninth in top 8. And then leading into the new format, I tested a bunch of new stuff where I tried out Terapagos for quite a bit. I tried Palkia for quite a bit. And as I was testing stuff, I just realized that like these decks were okay, but they weren't really like getting the same level of firepower that Lugia was when I was playing it. And I went back to my OG list, played a couple of games with it, tried like Teal Mask, Ogre, not Teal Mask, Wellspring Ogrepon and Cornerstone Ogrepon for a little bit, just to make use of Area Zero, and I didn't really like them nearly as much. Like I felt like Raikou still had a lot of utility. Like a lot of my game plans when I was playing into certain matchups, Raikou was a crucial piece. The only card I thought about even cutting was Pheasantipity, and I'm so sorry for that. Apology form should be made soon because you guys watched that top 4 game and that Pheasantipity saved me. So many times I thought about cutting a card from this list, but I would just like look at it and be like, I just can't cut a single card. So I decided let's send it again. It's a funny bit. I think it'd be really cool if I did well, but I don't really expect anything out of the weekend. Let's go ahead and see what happens. So I'll jump into the tournament right away. By the way, if you guys like this tournament report style stuff, I will make a tournament report regardless of whether I do well or bad at any tournament throughout the season, so you guys can follow along on my journey. This has been the greatest stretch of tournaments that I have ever played in my life. I expect the gravy train to stop probably as certain as Louisville, but we're going to just keep playing well and hoping for the best in that 10% of luck that goes my way. So, yeah. So round one I go up against Augustine, and they were playing Dragapult. In the first game, I bricked completely, like a full brick, but I stuck it out a little bit just to see what they were playing and like what cards they had in their deck that could potentially be a problem for me, etc., etc. Game 2, I got like a pretty ideal start where I got to turn 2 Iron Hands off into their Dreepy, into like a turn 2 like a boss kill something on their bench when they after they hit into my Iron hands, and then I had like the boss kill like on Rotom or something to end the game. Game 3, I made a really bad misplay to start like the day where like I had prepped to end the game with Wordier, but Wordier was in my last 2 prize cards and I just never checked that. So I ended up in a really, really weird board state where my opponent was able to pop a Dusk Clops, I believe, or Dusknoir even maybe, to knock out my hands that had the Legacy and the energy on it, the gift. So I didn't get to proc gift. I got Ionoed to 1. They needed to take 3 more prize cards. No, they needed to take 4 more prize cards, and I needed to take 1. And so a boss at any point in the game would win me the game. I draw for turn. It's an Ultra Ball. I have a dead card in Ultra Ball. I attack in with Lugia for 200 to his active Dragapult. He is able to set up a new Dragapult, retreat into it, but in the process he has to use Crispin, which like actually saves me because the Ultra Ball just gets me the Lumineon, which gets me the boss that ends the game. So I kind of got bailed out in that situation, but if not, I think with 2 more attacks, my opponent wins the game from that position. So I definitely got punished for not playing correctly, or almost got punished for not playing correctly. And so, I definitely am grateful that I was able to take that win. Next round, I had Alexander Nazemi. He was playing Gardevoir. The first game, I ended up losing the first game because Legacy was in my last 2 prize cards. And so I stuck it out because in the first 4 prize cards that I took, at any point if I take Legacy, the game is still in my court because I can end the game on the 2 prize turn. And so at the end of the game when it was 2-2, Alex was able to Churro up his Gardevoir and put myself in a spot where I needed to use Iron Hands to win the game this turn. And Legacy was in my last 2 prize cards, so I conceded the game at that point. We went to game 2. Game 2, I had a blisteringly good start where I think I got the turn 2 Iron Hands once again and was able to just take 4 prizes with the hands before the game even began. And yeah, it was all she wrote. Game 3 came down to a really weird board state where Alex could win if time was not called. And we were down to a 2-2 prize card scenario at the end of Alex's turn 0. So I was turn 1, Alex was turn 2, I was turn 3, and I made a play where I Iron Bundled. And I had an Arcaps with 3 energies and another Arcaps with 1 energy, and I had basically no energy left remaining in the deck besides a singular um, Blood Moon Ursaluna to finish the game, and his Gardevoir. He finally got Monkey Dory established, like I think that turn. So the Gardevoir that I was planning on knocking out with Blood Moon Ursaluna and ending the game was no longer in my purview. Um, so either my play was going to be gust up the Gardevoir anyway and hit into it with Archeops for 120, or bundle and see what it gives me. Um, because I think that there was at least one target on the bench I could not kill. And so when I bundled, Alex ended up giving me his Clef Key, which I then knocked out. And then Alex ended up passing for turn. And then I was like, "Are you sure you don't want to knock out my active?" And he was like, "Well, then you get Fez, blah, blah, blah." But then he decided against it. I let him take the knockout. Also, I should have just taken the pass because I had the boss in hand for game. But then I had to go Pheasantipity, draw 3, draw into the Ursaluna retreat, 1-1 prize cards, boss up a Curlia, end the game on turn 3 of time. But I think Alex just thought it was going to be a tie because I was, I had nothing left. But there was a Curlia and a Monkey Dorian play that I could both one-shot with my Archeops. So I ended up stealing a game there. I don't think that should have been anything besides a tie. So I ended up stealing it, and already I am pretty ecstatic that's like, how it happened. Then I go up against Mike. I don't remember what Mike was playing off the top of my head. I remember playing against a bunch of different decks. Mike was playing Raging Bolt. I remember this actually. Game 1, Mike completely full bricks and misses the turn 1 attack, going first. I end up getting a pretty ideal start, and I think I just blow up like an Orgrippon with my Lugia. He blows up my Lugia. I blow up his attacker with Bear. The Bear gets knocked out, and then I close out the game with Wordier. And then game 2, he has a not just a regular brick, but like a complete full brick, where I think I opened Bear, but I just and he chose second this time, and I slapped 5 energies onto a turn 1 and just knocked out his Raging Bolt. And then I was able to jet up a Lugia and like gust up like something else and kill it, and I was up 4 prizes before the game even began. And I think he had a play where he could have Burst Roar, but instead he went and Motivated, I think, on the second knockout, which I think made sense to set up a guy. But if I had like Jet plus Boss, I would have just won the game on the spot, which didn't matter. Like I think I was so far ahead that it just like didn't matter in that board state. So I ended up getting pretty lucky to win that. Sorry, that was a little bit dry that I don't remember that game, but that's all she wrote. Round 4, I had a familiar face in John Eng. John is a buddy of mine. We test together. I actually told him to play Temple this weekend because I thought Lugia was going to be a big problem in the metagame. I was kind of right, kind of wrong, but Temple was, I think, an important card to be played this weekend because Terrapagos also utilizes it quite a bit. So you can go like Temple late game onto a Terrapagos deck, and I know them. There's a chance that you could just like kill their Noctowls instead, and now their Terrapagos, who has just a DT on it, can't really respond to you as a Drago player. Game 1, I break. Game 2, we have a real game, but I get to go first, so I end up just going 2-2-2 faster than John can go 2-2-2. And then Game 3, John only gets 1 Drago up, and he has to E-switch to it. And I think 3 E-switches were in the discard before, like, turn 2 of the game, and I just bossed up the Drago, and I killed it, and he conceded the game. So, not a really eventful game, but we both bricked one, and I got to play the real game better, because I got to go first. So, I end up beating John, go to 4-0. Then I play against Hendrik. He is playing... I played against a bunch of different decks. I feel like I know that this was not a. Well, okay. I don't remember what Hendrik was playing, but I ended up winning this series. I don't remember if this was a close one or not, but I do remember I was pretty ecstatic after 5-0. Round 6 was Clement. I remember this quite frequently, or quite vividly. Because, oh no, I do remember round 5. I'm so sorry. This video sucks. You guys can hate me all you want. I'm so sorry. Hendrik was mirror match. And game 1, he's absolutely dominating me. But I get to go Raikou Legacy and knock out his active. And he doesn't have a counterplay into that. And then I end the game with Wordier. And I found he doesn't play Raikou or Wordier during the game. And so game 2, it's pretty much the same story where like he can never get rats established. So my Raikou and Wordier just like, the Raikou just does so much work. Because he can't really go around the Raikou Legacy. Because it's just such a big threat that deals with like pretty much everything in his deck. And if he can, I could just outrace him on the prize trade. So that's exactly what happens. Round 6, I go up against Clement. He's playing Dragapult. Game 1, I get smoked because I just don't set up well enough. And I think if you don't get set up against Dragapult very well, that deck just steamrolls you with how much damage and how big the Pokemon is. Like the new A-Spec tool is so good for it. And then the next round, the next game, Clement, I go first and I miss turn one Lugia. So I'm like, okay, 5-1, whatever, we'll come back and get this in. Clement attached to the active Dreepy before Poffining, so a pretty big mistake on his part. And I attached a Legacy to my Luminion before I like did anything to start the game. So I go play my turn, get a Lugia out onto the board, Lugia V, research, whatever. I hit a DTE, I DTE, I knock out the Dreepy. So now Clement needs to get like Candy, Pidgeot, Candy, Dragapult, Tool, attach, and he prized Tool, I'm pretty sure. And so he made like a gigantic misplay here, which lets me come back into this game too. Like I think there was a board state where like at one point both my Archeopses were no longer in play, and I was able to win that game. And then game 3, Clement ends up bricking, and my one Iron Hands I think takes like 4 prizes before the game even like gets underway. And at that point, it's just really really hard to play the game. Like the Clement prized double Pidgey I remember in this game, and he was just like, well, like here's a problem, and we pop in for like triple Dreepy, and I was like, oh, that's not good. And then I was able to just pretty much sweep the game from there. Really, really nerve wracking. I really felt like this game, I probably should have also lost the series. No telling what would have happened in game 2 if he was able to get a regular attack off, and I couldn't really respond to it. But yeah, I definitely got lucky again here to go to 6-0. 6-0, locked into day 2. It's pretty surreal at this point again. I hit Gunter. He's playing Terapagos. Game 1 I end up winning. Game 2 I end up he ends up winning. I think it was like a brick. Game 3 I end up getting an early Iron Hands on his, but I don't get it on the Noctowl or the Hoot that I wanted to get it on. I end up having to, I think, take out like the Rotom Fan or something because I bundled it into the active, and so I take out the Rotom Fan, take 2 prize cards. The Terapagos comes up with the Dusclops. Well, he has to hit into my hands first and then Dusclops it, because if not, Gift and Legacy proc, and those are both just really bad for the Terapagos deck because he can't 2/2 that way. But then I set up like a pretty unbreakable board. Like I literally just put the bear down, attached a bunch of energy to the bear, and then I just boss up like the Hoot, and then I just Iron Hands it this time. And now so I'm down to 2 prize cards. The Terapagos is free fodder. I have like a loaded up Lugia. I have a loaded up bear, and then I can always just Word Ear and end the game. And so at this point I beat Gunter, and then I go into 7-0. Round 8 I hit Mateusz. A familiar face we played in round 8 of the World Championships. At that point it was an elimination game. This time it was not an elimination game. So, fortunately for both of us, we were already locked in. We were just playing for some gravy. Game 1, I go solo chops gaming, and basically just have like the most insane like start to his really slow start where I get like the hands off, and then he basically just concedes right after that because he doesn't have really anything going for him. Then game 2, it's like a really close back and forth. I go solo chops, and then he kills the solo chops, and goes to 4 prize cards. I have 2, so I'm thinking about how to close out the game because I'm like, what kind of Radiant Alakazam shenanigans can you do here? And I'm like thinking in the tank, and then I have 3. He has 4 now, and I'm thinking, and I'm like, I can go bear this turn. I was gonna go bear boss kill the damaged Banette this turn, to go to 1, and then I can Cruel Arrow for the game at any point. But then I look over at him, he looks over at me, and then I was like, you have 3 prize cards left. That should not be the case. And we both like stopped for a second. He's like, yep, I accidentally took an extra prize card. We stopped, called a judge. DPL, we can determine the card, and then at that point he conceded because I already had Cruel Arrow on game to knock out like any of his small guys. There was a Spirit Tomb that was going to be sitting there forever, stuff like that. I think it was just a genuine accident, whatever happens, right? Like, if he actually took that extra prize card, I had the bear play, so in my mind I'm like, why can't I use Ursaluna this turn? I should not be able to use Ursaluna this turn. I thought about this, like, whatever. Round 9, I go up against Anthony Blanchard. He's playing Lugia. Also crazy that Anthony went from 8-0 to 8-4. My condolences. It's Lugia Mirror. Game 1 I brick. Game 2 he bricks. So game 3 we're like laughing about like, haha, we both get a real game. Anthony goes open Luminion, bench Luminion, Carmine get Lugia. Carmine, Ultra Ball Lugia, pass. Attach gift, pass to active. So he's a 1-card hand basically at this point. I go draw, do my setup, I open hands, attach to hands. I attach DT to hands because I'm like, whatever, you have 2 Luminions in play, I just have to kill 1. Go. He does his turn. He goes evolve to V-Star, pass, because he doesn't have a supporter. I do my turn. I get the hands off. I think he could have just, I don't know. I feel like he should have just, he discarded chops, 1 chops on Carmine. I think he should have just like set up and started playing, because as soon as I take the 3 prizes with hands, it's just over. The game is just over. And so then I go hands, I proc the gift, I don't really care. He promotes Lugia and passes. I end up having a pretty bad hand. So I just load up my board with energies. Like I load up a Lugia. I load up something else. I think it was like a Minccino was on my board too. I load that up. But no Chinchino. So I just hit him for 200. He benches another Lugia the turn prior, so he goes Iono, retreat into the other Lugia. Like it was like, or jet up the other Lugia. Pass again. Again, one Archeops refuses to put it into play. I go draw, just hit it for. Oh no, he bins a Minchino too, and I go draw. Um, bundle. I hit bundle. I go bundle, and he gives me the Minchino because he can't give me the other two attackers, or he just loses the game. So I have to take two more prizes with hands. He promotes the fresh Lugia again, draws for turn, Ionos, attaches Ionos, doesn't hit something on the other side, and he just goes concede. He just didn't want to V-Star at one point in the game. I feel like he could have at least played the game or attacked into me or done something, but it just felt like a pretty much like a limp concession there. So round 10, we go up against Yele. He's the coin bonus funny coin guy. Game 1, it's actually just like an intense back and forth where if I take the legacy off my prize cards in the first 4 prize cards, I can't lose the game. But because it ends up being in my final 2, I can't take 2 prize knockout to end the game. And win when Yele goes down to 1. So then I have to take a 1 prize card knockout, and then Yele ends up winning the game in game 1. Game 2, I win the flip. I just absolutely dominate him. I feel like I have to, like, if I lose the flip, it's a game for him. If I win the flip, it's just absolute domination for my side because their deck just loses 4 prizes cards before he even gets to play the game against me. So I end up taking that. And then game 3, it's a pretty intense back and forth once again, but I get a Warrior set up that's one-shotting stuff. And then Yele has a pretty insane mid-game turn where he goes from like a 2-card hand to getting the barrel into play, drawing the barrel cards, drawing 3 off Fez, drawing 2 off the Greninja, drawing like 4 cards off different coin bonuses into a Pokestop. Like I think his hand went from like 2 cards to like a 20-card hand, and I was like, "There's no shot I don't just die here." And then he went Prime Catcher up like I think a Lugia or something I'd already pre-benched because I had to bench 2 Lugias to play the game, so I had like some 2 prizers on my board that I didn't really want. He takes that out, and then I have to Iono and knock out his Dengo. And it's really unfortunate because I'm like pretty confident that he can draw his whole deck with like Pheasantipity, like 2 coin bonuses, the barrel. Like the Iono doesn't really do anything, but I just have to do it. And it ends up being that like the SCRs are in like the bottom couple cards, and he has to like pretty much use his exact full hand to do it, which could have been close, could have been relevant, but I think I had lost that game anyway from like the way the game was going. So yeah, Yele wins, beats me, goes to the 10-0, he goes to 10 or 9-0-1 at that point. And then I go up against Finn Luft. Finn is like an old school player. I think if you guys have heard of him, he's like the 2016 Dortmund regional champion. I think he's like an old timey German national champion. Like this guy has been around forever. He was talking to me about how like he's back since he had a kid. He's like a returning player. Maybe it's like his 1 tournament of the year because he like lives close by. I don't know. It's Drago versus Lugia. Game 1, I just absolutely smoke him. Like I get the first 2. He has no response. I get the next 2. Like I've already taken 4 prize cards before the game even begins, and so it's like really hard for me to lose. Game 2 is like a pretty intense back and forth because my opening hand was not that great. But then the board state ends up coming to a board where I have a Warrior. Like I think I pseudo checkmate him with a Warrior because he made a Dragapult play where he attacked into my Lugia that had a V-Guard on it, V-Star, to put it at 170, and then puts 2 damage counters on my Warrior because I opened Warrior, and puts the other damage counter somewhere else. And I know in my head he forgot about V-Guard. So I end up getting the whole play, 4 DTs onto the Warrior, V-Guard, because I retreat the Lugia, I leave the V-Guard, leave the Legacy on Lugia, so if he Curums, I still have the Legacy. No, I keep the Legacy on the active. Sorry, I move everything. I move the Legacy. I need to move the Legacy. I need to move all the energy. So the V-Guard's there, and then he goes, "How'd you move the V-Guard?" And I was like, "The ability," and he's like, yes. And then, so the board state is now, he has 6, I have 3. And so in my mind, I'm thinking there's no way he can take all of his prize cards. Like he has to respond. Like he has to Tina this, but he's out of ways to power up this Drago. Like there's no real way to power up this Drago anymore. Or if he uses 1 Drago, this is his last Drago and the game ends. He went Radzard, retreat, attached to Radzard. He didn't announce the attack because neither of us were announcing stuff. So he just moved 2 prize cards towards his hand, and I just like moved the prize card back. I was like, no, I have a Legacy. Also, you can't attack. And then he was like, oh, okay. And then he went to go play a card from his hand, and I was like, you indicated that you moved into the attack phase. Normally, I wouldn't do something like this, but because both players had a pattern throughout the 2 games that we had played of not announcing attacks and taking actions, it was a pretty clear indication that you had moved into the attack phase. And at that point, it's like can't really let you take that back. because you're already there. Judges come, we deliberate for about 15, 20 minutes. They talk to us both individually, one-on-one. They come to the conclusion that Finn had moved on to the attack phase, which then gives him a double, either he takes a double prize penalty by taking the 2 prize cards, or he moves into the attack phase, which both are bad for him. And then I just boss up the Drago and I win. He also, I think, messed up at one point and rotted back no fire. And he had 2 fire SER and like 2 rods in the discard now at this point. And so I was like, I don't think he has any more recovery. If that, he has 1 stretcher. So he was out of attackers anyway, I think. So the game was over. But a little bit of a weird situation, but I ended up taking that. Now I'm at 10-1, so I know I'm at least guaranteed ASIM. People are DMing me telling me that the ASIM bracket's going to be pretty big because of all the weird ties and stuff that happened. So they said that I need to get to 31 at the very least. Play for the tie if you can, or if you just win, you're out of ASIM more than likely. And I was like, cool. I hit Nina. Super sweet girl. She just aged up into Masters. It was wonderful talking to her throughout the tournament. Incredible performance. If you're watching this, Nina, like, you should be very proud of yourself. Keep your head held high on your first Masters regional performance. We ended up playing on stream, so an incredible moment for her as well. Game 1, I set up like a pretty good board state where Nina, I think, Nina does not know that V-Guard also works on the bench, so she goes for a Kyurem attack, leaving my Lugia with 30 HP remaining, and no 5 price turn for her. Wipes her board of the energies. I think multiple energy switches are gone. I think there's like 3 E switches gone, so there's 0 way that you can power that attacker up anymore. So I just chase a 2 prizer on the bench, and then I win the game on a boss. But I don't think I was ever in threat of losing that game. And then the next game, second game, was just really unlucky from Nina. She had like a pretty slow start. She opens Tomb. She misses the Drago early. I'm able to just basically kill the Tomb, go into like a 2-2-2 prize trade, and like the game was just never out of my favor. So unfortunately for Nina, she gets knocked out. Unfortunately for me, I do move on to 11-1, becoming first seed for the second time in 2 tournaments. An incredible feeling. Really don't know how to describe it. I was kind of really excited, really anxious at this point. And this is kind of where it's like sets in, and like the memes are going around where like, you know, like I just make it in, we have to wait an hour and a half for asymmetric cut to happen, and then I immediately lose in top 8. And so like we were just joking. And then someone comes up and informs me that the bracket that I'm in I'm playing the winner of Miraidon or Raging Bolt, and I was like, dude, there's no shot that a Miraidon made top 8 or top ASIM, whatever, top 12. And then if that happens, there's a chance that I play against Thorns, and I was like, dude, there's no way this is happening. Like I was like what like sick joke is it that these 2 matchups just appeared out of like thin air? I haven't heard of these 2 players all day, and all of a sudden they're just here because like I'm just ill-fated to never win. So in my buy, I'm just sitting, like, I remember there's like, they like gate off the tables for top cut or ASIM, so the tables are gated off, and there's like 1 row, and then like 1 row like where you're not supposed to sit, and then 1 row where you can sit. So I'm sitting in that 1 row with like, I got like a slice of pizza, and I'm just like eating my pizza, like drinking my Coke, watching, and I'm just like, man, like, I really hope the Raging Bolt wins. And the Raging Bolt ends up whiffing 1 attack, and so I hit the Miraidon player. But in the meantime, Stefan did beat the Thorns player, so I knew that if I made it through Glenn playing Miraidon, I would not have to deal with Iron Thorns in top 4. So my work was cut out for me a little bit by Stefan, and so I ended up going up into Glenn. Glenn is playing Miraidon. Game 1, he opts to go first because he's playing Secret Box Miraidon and not Prime Catcher Miraidon. And he gets a pretty good start. Attaches the Raikou. I think he doesn't see any generators turn 1. I have a pretty insane start as well. Double Lugia, open bundle, bench, Minchino, and I was able to research away 1-chops. So I just went for that line instead. And I had on the flip side, on the other side, I had a Ultra Ball and another Chops. So I ended up doing, no, I don't have another Ultra Ball. I have Chops in hand and an Aroma in hand, and I have a Research for the next turn. So I just hold it all. He ends up pushing the Raikou to the active, does everything. Still no generator. Ends up bossing the Lugia, takes it out. I promote the Rat. I end up doing everything, getting everything up and running. I get the Legacy onto the Lugia. Basically make it so like my whole board is now 1 prize just effectively, and there's no hands to be seen with generators. So I end up just, you know, popping the active, and ending the game. Or not ending the game. I popped the active Raikou with the Chinchino. Then he promotes, gets the generators onto the hands. He has to use 3 generators to do this. Gets 3 generators onto hands. Powers it up. Pushes hands active. 1-shots my Chinchino. Takes those prize cards. I throw up Lugia. I draw. I go into Bear. I'm keeping my bench a little bit small, so Raikou plus Vitality Band plus Terra Stadium can't 1-shot me. And so I go V-Guard the Bear, push the Bear into the active, keep Legacy on Lugia so it doesn't get knocked out. knockout hands with Bear Iono low. And so now Bear has to carry. He ends up my opponent ends up whiffing, and I end up just taking the knockout. So cool. I end up winning. Game is good. He has to hit into my Bear. Game's over at that point. Next game, he chooses second. Switch it up, see where it takes you. I have a pretty decent start. I open double Lugia. I ultra ball my double. Like basically, I have a couple flips that lead me to just ultra balling my hand away to have my hand be just V star and chops. My opponent makes his whole turn. Goes into triple generator turn 1. Gets all of them for 2. Powers up a Dawn, and I think like a Raikou. Goes into the Dawn. One shots my Lugia. Interesting decision. I feel like Raikou could have just been fine, but maybe like he wanted to keep the Seal Stone target. I throw up the Lugia. I evolve into Lugia. Get the V-Star up and running. Get the Legacy onto the active. Research. Draw my whole cards. Get the Minchino. Put it down on the board. Only two generators have been used this one. One Dawn and one Raikou have been powered up. And so I knock out the active. Take that out. My opponent then goes promote Raikou. Attack. Draw one Seal Stone. Secret Box for boss. A couple other stuff. Gets hands with Tandem Unit. Hits the generator for 2. Attaches DT from hand. Bosses up my Minchino. Attaches Bravery Charm. And knocks it out for 2. So now I'm in a really bad spot. Like I'm in a spot where it's like he's at 2 prizes left. There's a hands with 280 HP. I sit there for a second, think through the whole tank. I slam Wordier 4 DTE. Get it into the active. Leave the Legacy on Lugia because boss just ends the game if I don't do that because Raikou's already powered up. So I have to leave Legacy on Lugia. So I now have a Wordier in the active with my entire hopes and dreams riding on it. Iono to 2. Knock out the Iron Hands. There's a Raikou with 2 energies and nothing else, 1 generator. He throws up the Raikou. Or he throws up Mew. Draws for turn. Don't think he has any burnable cards. Tandem units out some guys, like the Terra Mewtwo, I think, and stuff like that. Retreats into Raikou. Draws 1 with Fleet-Footed. And then he concedes. Because he said he would have needed to get a generator to get 2 onto Raichu, and he had the switching card in hand already, preemptively. So if he had gotten all of that, he would have been able to one-shot me. But that was his only way to one-shot me, he said. And I counted. He was like 11 energies down and a DTE, and I was like, I see 11 energies in discard, 2 on board. There's such a low likelihood of me getting absolutely blown up this turn that this is my best play I can make. So I kind of big brained the hell out of that series. Neither of us bricked is the crazy part either. I think if I break even a little bit, I just lose. So a super intense BO3 for me to win that. And then, yeah. Then I hit Stefan on stream. I'm sure you guys can watch me go through that later at some point in time. I end up smoking Stefan game 1. Game 2, I get smoked completely. Game 3, I think the game is completely over for quite a long time just because, like, I don't know, man. I'm getting absolutely cooked, man. Like, Wallahi, I opened Deer. I bossed up, like, a Duskull, and I killed it. Like, what do you want me to do? This game is difficult. And then I Pheasantipity into double chops with Ultra Ball in hand, and I get it. I get the double chops. I get the Lugia. I get to play the game. I end up just making, like, the most insane sequence of plays to just win this game 3 that I just, like, didn't know I could even win. Did I forget that Stefan had Prime Catcher? Yeah, I did. I completely forgot that he had Prime Catcher to kill my Pheasantipity and probably win the game with Bear, Dusk Noir, kill Fez. Like, I just completely forgot that existed, that possibility. So, got bailed out, but all good. All G. We won. And then finals is against Okada-san, and he was playing Dragapult, and I think game 1 I messed up by attaching the Jet. I think I did get punished by drawing into the Legacy. But the odds, in my mind, the justification was that the odds were so low, the high, that I was probably going to have to go into single chops and just kind of go into hands this turn. And I would need to see an energy on either end. So I was like, if I just put the Jet here, it's completely fine. As long as I don't draw into the Legacy. And then I did draw into the Legacy, and I got double chops. So I got instantly punished, and that whole game was I was 1 turn behind. And at the very end of the game, I could have arrow dived and discarded the Stadium to take away my opponent's win con. But if I go Arrow Dive, discard Stadium, my opponent has Arven, Nestball, Radiant Alakazam, Knockout. And he had only played 1 Arven at that point in the game, or maybe 2 Arvens. And that deck usually plays 4. So I was pretty confident that the big hand, or like 4-card hand, would have an Arven over them having Boss, or Lumineon for Boss. So I gave them access to a coin flip. They got it off the coin flip. It is what it is. I got some off the coin flip. They get some off the coin flip. And then game 2 was just the most phenomenally terrible brick that you've ever seen. It's a Lugia day. It's a Lugia hand. It's a Lugia tournament. So I am your 2nd place finisher at the Dortmund Regional Championships. And that is everything that went down in Dortmund. So thank you guys for the support. Super awesome. Gonna go ahead and do a masterclass at some point in the near future with Lugia. It's just been an absolutely surreal. It's like surreal to look at this. Like look at I like pull up Limitless. I go to oh no, Yurko got it. Man, I got cooked. But you click on mine, you can just see three results in a row with the same 60 card list is an absolutely phenomenal feeling. Like this is just one of the most insane like runs I've ever had. Like I just can't describe it in words. None of this has felt real to me. Like I feel like tomorrow I'm gonna wake up and it's all been a dream. But yeah, all things considered, thank you so much. Peace out. Please like and subscribe, and adios.